Hi, Dragana.
Oh, hi.
We are starting, and uh, I would like you to introduce yourself and say who is Dragana. It's a big
Woo!
question.
It's a hard question. She's so many things. Thank you for asking that, making me think about it this early morning. She's a lot of things. She's a thinker. She's a designer. Um, and she's somebody who also doesn't define herself as a one thing or the other or a profession. She's also a wanderer, someone who identifies or has identified as a refugee for a long time. She's a Balkan woman. She's also a worldly woman. She's a dreamer. She's a hard worker. She's a friend, and someone who needs a lot of friends and has a lot of friends like yourself. So she's a combination of all those things at any given point, and she might change if you ask me tomorrow or in a year. I don't know. um, but I do show up in different ways, or she shows up in different ways in the world around her, and always influenced by the world. And the reason why design thinking is a big part of my life is because it's a way to see the world around you and interact with it. So it's a lot of things at one time.
uh,
I don't know if you'll have enough time in your video to for me to answer that question.
we'll see. I need to figure out how to give people a sign so they know they can then they can start talking and then stop talking.
Cut it
But
off.
yeah,
It's a hard question. It's not an easy question. Who are you? It's for me, because that's another person that I am. I am a very analytical mind, so I take your question with a lot of interest, and I have to be honest in answering it. So it's not an easy question.
yeah. This question came really naturally because I was thinking to introduce people, but this is a kind of different perspective when you ask them not to introduce themselves, but to think about themselves at the same moment.
Sure.
And you mentioned design thinking. So if you can explain on one simple example what is that, because not a lot of people know what is concept designer or what is design thinking. It's kind of really abstract.
It sure is. It would be difficult to describe it simply because of the danger of design thinking being already portrayed in our current culture as something that is a very specific thing. You'll hear the term used in business a lot. Maybe Harvard Business Review even made the term popular, maybe a couple of decades ago. Design thinking is a way of solving problems creatively. It's a way of thinking, it's a way of existing, it's a way of interacting with your world. And that's probably the simplest explanation I can give you. But if I can give you an example, then I may give you like a bigger example. And it has to do with perhaps the dance between convergence and divergence of sorts, which can be translated into many different forms of existing. Breathing in and out is a dance between the opposites, right? Zooming in, since we're on Zoom, and zooming out is the same idea. Design thinking, as an example, is done when any one person is able to have the dance between the two and exist in the process of the dance. So that, you know, very concretely, if you're in a situation where you feel stuck or frustrated, somebody who understands thinking by design and solving problems creatively might take a step back and say, hold on, I'm reacting to something that is in front of me that I need to figure out. Excuse me. Why don't I take a step back and look at a bigger picture and then try to understand the problem as a part of a system, maybe. And so that's what design thinking teaches us to do in life. So it's a much bigger thing than some strategy. It really is a way of seeing the world around you and interacting with it and building yourself as well in it.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, building yourself. I now I really can say that I understand it much clearly. So I believe people who are listening would also can.
You know, what's interesting is I've been doing this with my colleague, and this comes out of some practice in mindfulness by a professor out of Toronto who's talking about mindfulness in a very interesting sort of new way, or a true way of what mindfulness really is. And in academia, because I mostly work in higher education institutions, we try to not use the big words. Even words that I just used, convergence and divergence, are very unfamiliar as to how they are used to a person who is not a designer. And so when you talk about things in quote unquote simple terms, in understandable language, which is difficult because it makes you translate the meaning of what convergence and divergence is, which is not easy. But I think when we make an effort to do that, then we open up our space and our minds for people to converse about such things. So the reason why you're able to, I mean, conversing is such an interesting, fascinating thing that you were just able to understand what I was saying. But I was very careful in explaining it or presenting myself and what I'm thinking, so that you would be able to know exactly what I'm thinking. So that type of mindfulness is also part of design thinking, I think, because it's how you communicate with people. It's how you represent your thoughts and your knowledge, and using different. I mean, we get stuck in big words and we hide behind them sometimes, so that something like design thinking, you know, that comes out of Harvard can be so unattainable or hard to reach for a lot of people, but it's not. It's just a way of thinking. It has nothing to do with how educated you are or how smart you are or what kind of words you know. You know how to do design thinking.
So you mentioned experiential learning. So what is experience for you? How do you like you go through life and at one point you are reflecting and you explain, we daily explain experiences. So I'm wondering, how we shape our experience, and is that from past experiences that we brought in our present moment, or we imagine things, or it's both and
Yeah,
combination?
it's probably a combination of things. If I had another life, I would study brain science and neuroscience is something that is starting to explain how we actually learn and how we connect these experiences in our lives to create meaning, which is fascinating. I don't understand that side of it. But experience for me is really everything. It's a part of mindfulness and awareness that each of us is privileged to have if you're able to reflect on it. So experience and reflection combined together is what creates a memory or a moment. And I think new experiences are a combination of the two. They are mostly subconscious, right? Reactions to the things that happened to us or around us, and are somehow manifesting as reactions to those things around us. And then a part of it is also very intentional and very meaningful and very kind of purposeful. For example, saying, I'm not going to eat bread for the rest of the year because I want to lose 10 pounds. And I don't know why that came to my mind, but it's so I'm going to create experiences for myself of trying other foods that are not trying other foods. So I feel like it's a combination of things that I don't understand, and I'm on a journey to understand. But I think experiences are everything, and experiences for me, I'll just say this, is like the most common denominator between all of us, because that's all that we quote unquote have.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something similar, because we are going to an end for this meeting, but we would continue to speak about this kind of things in a second conversation. But I also want to ask you, like, why is that people are repeating experiences? Like, if they are experiencing something that they feel, or they say it's not good for them, how is that happening? How we can change bad experiences in something and create environment, or some kind of new experience that is more joyful or more fun or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, the short answer is I don't know, but the long answer is I'm trying to find out. And I think in our work, my colleague and I, we attach we really put a center focus on meaning making. And so just like you asked me right off the bat, who are you? It's really difficult to answer that question, because for me, it requires a lot of reflection. It requires a lot of introspection. It requires a lot of understanding how people see me and how I am a reflection of their vision of me. So it's a very complex process. And I think similarly, the reason why we quote unquote do things and create new experiences that are frustrating and something that we know we need to get out of, or we know that it didn't work, you know, it's like, why do I keep eating bread? I love it. So I keep eating it. I can't control myself. But I think if you step back again and say to yourself, so what is the meaning of everything? You know, why am I in this world? And I have to put it out there that I'm not a religious person, so I don't believe in sort of the universal any sort of religious narrative. But if you truly ask yourself, so what is the meaning of everything, and what is my purpose here? What is it that I can do? How do I contribute? I think that begins to inform your new experiences and your new knowledge. And that might inform how you change and how you cater and curate your new experiences. So that if you have that big picture, right, and if I say I want to change the world in this way, or, you know, I want to eradicate world hunger, then how do I do that today? What are the small things that I can do every day to get to that answer? And that begins to change not only the experiences that you're going to have, that begins to change your mindset as well. And with that, your energy completely towards how you do things, when you do things. You are a great example of that, Mirela. I've watched you over the years be so incredibly driven. And your work and everything that you do is a result of this way of thinking. You changed the course of your life because you had a vision, and you have a vision.
Yeah.
And so it's
I like that, because then it's a really like a new way of thinking. But how can you move your life in a different way? It's really it could be really easily by only asking yourself a few questions, and then reflecting as much as possible, and just keep asking those kind of questions. So I would finish at this point, so we can next time we can dive deeper in this kind of questions about changing way of thinking, and asking ourselves what we can contribute in this world. So
I would love that. Let's do it.
Yeah, I really looking forward, and thank you for your time, and I'm really grateful for you being able to share your personal experiences and your knowledge. It's really valuable, and thank you.
Thank you, Mirela. Thank you for asking me the difficult questions.